All right, so I am here with Edd Moore, and I'm excited to be able to interview him today because what he's achieved at Damer's First School in Poundbury, England is really admirable, but it's remarkable. And of course, he's received a lot of rewards for it, as has Damer's First School. So Ed, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about how you started the program at Damer's and how you became the eco coordinator, and why you think it's important for teachers, not just administrators or the head teacher, to lead the change.
So it all started with a blank canvas, really. It was my first teaching post. The children didn't know anything about their environment or where their food came from. And I thought it was really important that the children knew how to look after their environment for the future and for many years to come. And I felt that that's how I should, I felt that each child should become like a rep, an eco rep. And so we class had an eco ambassador that represented their class, and then we saw everybody really as eco reps, doing their bit towards making our world a better future.
So what did you start with? Did you start with a plastic campaign? Did you start with developing a garden? Where did you start with all of this?
I started with a garden. I designed, and I made a school garden. There's no school garden there. So from scratch, I designed and made a school garden. So then everybody had a chance to get out there into the outdoors and learn how to grow fruit and veg from seed, and then being able then to harvest that food and veg to make a traditional dish, British dish, in our technology rooms. And then that moved on to using the food and veg to cook from other countries, and we now grow in seasons. So I think it's really important that children know that when certain fruit and veg is grown throughout the months, so that it can be harvested through those months, rather than growing or buying food and veg from other countries that aren't in season in our country.
Got it. And where'd you get the money to set up the first bed?
So the money was raised. So we had a great donation from the Dorset Gardens Trust, who are a fantastic organisation that give out money to schools to help start off like a garden programme. And then we raised the rest of the money ourselves through we've got a big recycling programme that we got the whole community collecting crisp packets and toothpaste tubes and toothbrushes and crisp biscuit wrappers, all kinds of different things. Also printing cartridges and toners. We raised an awful lot of money through recycling unwanted sort of plastics that are then made into other things by other organisations.
It's funny because every time I talk to you or see a new picture, you've got a new thing going at Damer's First School. You may have started with the gardens, but now you have a chicken coop and you have a composter, you have a little pond. So how have you raised the money for each one of these things, and who drives what you add to the school? And do you meet resistance from the parents or from the administrators, or how do you navigate all of the things that are necessary? And also, I want to ask you about volunteers. Do you have people who come in and help volunteer in the gardens? Because it sounds like a lot of maintenance at this point.
Well, I'll start with volunteers. So we have some fantastic volunteers to come in the afternoons to work with the children. So each class has an opportunity to get out during the week. I think that's really important, all the way from reception all the way up to year 4. So we're talking from 4 to 9-year-olds. They all have an opportunity each afternoon to get out into the garden and learn about growing fruit and veg. Really important. We've raised our money, again, we had an auction of promises, and we had lots of donations, and that raised money for our Ryden food waste composter, which is basically all our food waste from lunch times and from snack times goes into this composter, and it heats up to about 70 degrees inside. And we use that compost in our school garden. So literally none of our food goes to waste. It doesn't leave our site. It's all just a cycle. It's a continuous cycle. And the children learn about our cycles within our school and the importance of cycles in nature as well. So that's super important. Do we get any resistance from parents? I think lots of parents are sending their children to our school because of the environmental work that we're doing. I think they read it in the papers and they see it online, and they want to send their children to Damers for what we do, our environmental ethos, our forest schools, our outdoor learning. It's quite unique, I think, in our county, let alone in the. I think that sort of gives a lot of positives. We've had lots of backing from the community. Lots of whether you're a church, scouts, charitable organisations, businesses wanting to give money to support our environmental cause, and even then inspiring them to do their bit within their business, to reduce paper, to reduce on single-use plastic, to look at their procurement policies and see where they can, cut costs and also help the environment, in their way. So yeah, it's, I think it's inspired other people to do their bit.
And also to want to come. Well, let's talk a little bit about the curriculum, because I think that what a lot of schools face when they want to set up, say, even start with a learning garden. I mean, you've gone well past that with your composter, chicken coop, pond, and all of this. But even if they want to start with that, what do you think are the best curriculums so that teachers are already set up to incorporate the standards of learning that their local area is mandating?
First of all, I think everyone thinks, oh no, we've got to learn about the environment. It should be it's going to be an extra thing, but it shouldn't be a bolt-on. It shouldn't be an extra thing. It should just be part and parcel of the school's ethos, of the day-to-day running of the school. And I think we found that, you can learn about the environment in every subject. It doesn't have to be science and geography and citizenship. It can be literacy. We've seen this year we did a massive topic on the wonders of Dorset, and the children wrote letters to a local organisation called the Dorset Wildlife Trust, asking them if we could have 10 wonders of Dorset, to sort of encourage people to Dorset and help us look after those 10 wonders. And I think they thought it was a great idea, and then I think now other counties are thinking, "Cool, perhaps we could have 10 wonders or 10 wonders ourselves." So it can be literacy, it can be maths. You could go outdoors and use what you see outdoors for counting, or patterns. I think patterns are really important. So many patterns that you see within nature, so many shapes you see within nature. History as well. If you go back to the Stone Age and farming, it's science, underwater, oceans, single-use plastic, recycling, the cycle of rain and how that forms, and electricity, PE. There's so many opportunities to learn about the environment in so many subjects. I think we need to get out of this narrow-mindedness of sort of it can only be geography, it can only be science, but it could be everything. It could be anything that you want it to be. Just be creative in your teaching, and you can use so many subjects.
Well, I know that you and your school have won many awards You certainly have been very involved with Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots program. I've spoken to you and you've said you've been very inspired by the Harmony Project. Can you talk a little bit about both of those, how they've inspired you, and maybe how, you know, what you might recommend for other teachers thinking about joining those programs as well?
So Eco Schools is a fantastic organisation. You know, it's been running for 27 years now, and with their 7 steps, which, you know, I think, you know, is flawless. Really, you know, it works. You know, it's an easy 7 steps. You work on 10 topics. You can to get the flag, you got to do 3 topics, and I think just their easy, simple steps was just an easy thing for children to follow. You go round and you celebrate what you've done within your school, but then for an environmental review, but then it then helps you and then you gradually just do getting the green flag. You put yourself up an eco code, and, you know, get the whole school involved, and it's just a fantastic organisation and a fantastic program. And yeah, it certainly inspired me and the community and other schools to, you know, to get involved. On the case of Harmony, I think we were doing an awful lot of work already related to Harmony, but didn't really quite realise that we were doing it. But I think by doing the Harmony and the 6 principles that they've got, and choosing a different principle each half term to follow, which then relates to an environmental topic, and then putting in a bit of geometry and looking through the eyes of nature, and how that links then to mini beasts and different animals and trees, and even up in space as well. I think it's fascinating. I think the children have really seen that connection between nature and the environment, and how then they should be looking after their world locally, but also you know, across the UK and afar. You know, I think it's really connected everything together.
Wow, very cool. And what about Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots? Because I did see that you had won some awards from that program as well.
Yeah, Jane, you know, she's an inspiration. I think, you know, she's a bit of a legend, isn't she, really? So yeah, we won Best Education Institution of the Year, and that's through the pledges that the children make. So each half term, each class makes a pledge to help animals, people, or the environment. And then that's related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and you've got to pick at least one. You can't pick the same one each half term. It's got to be something different. And then each class works on their pledge, and we've got it so that it links in with the curriculum. So it's not an add-on; it's just part of what they're doing. Yes. So they work on that pledge, and then at the end of it, they present it to the rest of the school of what they've achieved, sort of thing. And throughout that sort of half term, people are sort of voting for who they think is making the biggest impact across the community. And then they get a reward at the end of it, like, you know, they might get an environmentalist to come talk to them, like Chris Hines from the co-founder at Certificate Sewage, or someone might come in and do an environmental workshop on what they were, you know. Yeah, really spurs the children on. And then it also, for some children, it makes them want to learn more about what they're working on, and they do more at home, and they get their family involved, and, you know, then it becomes a whole like domino effect.
Fantastic. And I know that one of your campaigns was actually plastic free in the school, and then you went out and did it in the community as well. Can we talk about getting plastic free in the school? Because there still are a lot of reheat programs that have the food come in, you know, pre-packaged, covered in plastic, all of this. So can we talk a little bit about how you first changed Damer's first school into a plastic-free school, and then took that campaign out into the city?
Yeah, well, basically, we had a recycling week, and the children got really inspired from that recycling week. So we're talking about 4 years ago, and then the children sort of came to me and said, what else can we do? We want to reduce our single-use plastic in school. What can we do? And I said, fantastic, right? Let's make a campaign. Then let's try and make the school as single-use plastic free as possible. And the children wrote off to all the organisations that we work with. So we got rid of the milk in cartons and plastic straws. So now they come in beakers. We've got glass bottles. Our fruit waste just comes in cardboard boxes. Got rid of the bags. We got the children using reusable bottles that are stainless steel with our name on them. We've got them now engraved on our school bottles. Everyone's got a bottle to use to refill their water bottles. We then took this sort of idea. We also, just going back, lunch boxes, did a big thing on lunch boxes, waste-free lunch boxes, and make sure that no one was bringing cling film, and that, everyone's got those reusable lunch boxes, trying to cut down on the materials being brought in. And then we took it out into the community, and our first project was Refill Poundbury or Refill Dorset, and basically it's an app. They do it across the country, and you get businesses to sign up who are willing to. They get placed on an app, and that shows to everybody that they're a refill station. So anybody can walk into their business and refill their reusable bottle with free drinking water. And I think in one afternoon, the children signed up 25 businesses, which is an extraordinary achievement. And I think to date, we're on about 60 in Dorchester. There are 60 refill stations, which is a great achievement by the children. I know they went door to door, basically selling it to the managers of these organisations to why they should sign up. So that brought confidence in them. And then we went even further. We wanted each business within Dorchester to remove or use a different business. And I think they got just about 100 businesses have signed up to remove at least 3 single-use plastics or find alternatives for them. And that's an extraordinary achievement. There's about 300 businesses in Dorchester, so we've got a third of the businesses signed up. And I think there's probably more businesses that have signed up over COVID. It's just that we just lost count of how many that are sort of taking part that have just done it without even telling us, sort of thing. So.
Let's go to logistics on this for a minute. Is that a field trip, or are the kids doing this after school in their own time?
Well, we're doing it. We're doing it at weekends. We're doing it in our own time. We're doing it after school. We're doing it on a Saturday morning. We're getting like the town mayor involved. We're getting councillors involved to come round with us, and sort of give it a bit more of a welly. With the businesses, because I think at first point of call, lots of people think, oh no, here goes children, but I think they've got such a powerful voice that they stood up, they listened, and they took on board what the children were saying to them, and their pitches were so good. They were down to like sort of 20-30 second little sound bites, and drew people in to want to help them. So that was fantastic. And then they also had a great opportunity in a room full of businesses. There must have been about 100 businesses in this huge room, and they stood up and they did a presentation for 10 minutes, and I think they just blew everybody away. And And the questions they were asking, the children were then asking them questions back and then actually giving it back to them, because I think some of the adults thought, they're a bit more cleverer sort of thing, and they knew everything that that was being said. And actually they were sort of shown up by our children, who are only 7 and 8 year olds, about how much they knew. And I think that sort of blew everybody away by how much passion and, they were putting through.
So it sounds like an eco program with a tireless eco coordinator like you can really take this. I mean, these children are going to be transformed forever. I'm sure you can already feel that, right? I mean, their relationship with what learning is about and being so passionate that they come to you with new requests. Can you talk a little bit about being the eco coordinator and having somebody designated that has an open ear to them? And how open is your door? Like, do you open your door up at lunchtime? I mean, I know you to be a tireless worker, so tell us a little bit about that.
I think it's really important that each school has a eco coordinator like myself. I don't get paid any more than a teacher, but I feel strongly that it should be recognised as a role within every school.
Yeah.
I think it's just as important as literacy and maths, and it should be recognised and it should be paid for, and time should be given for an eco coordinator, because that, at the end of the day, that's the only way that we're going to make schools environmentally friendly and carbon zero. The government's put out a big thing about 2030. Every school in the UK to be carbon zero. Well, if they want to do that, then you need people like me in every school, to push this forwards, sort of thing.
That's fabulous. I want to, in that realm, carbon zero, you guys already have at least 50%, it might be higher, of your students who walk or ride a bike to school, right?
Yep. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, we've got about 60% of people that scoot, bike, or walk. We've got these new zones now where parents can park within 5 minutes or 10-minute walk of our school to try and ease congestion, but also help on the air pollution.
Yeah, that's really key. Is there anything else well, actually, I did want to ask you one last thing. When we talk about Poundbury itself, I mean, it is a smaller community. It was designed to be friendly to pedestrians and bicyclists and that sort of thing. So it was almost by necessity that you had to have a lot of, people commuting by foot or by pedal. But let's talk a little bit about that community. How has, I mean, outside of all of the great support that you've received from Her Majesty and HRH, the Prince of Wales, outside of that, which is tremendous, I'm sure, just the fact that you're in a community that was designed to promote, sustainability, how does that affect you and the children?
I think it enhances our work. It's fantastic that we're on such a on Dutchy land, we're on Poundbury. They're pretty much, their ethos is sustainability as well as our ethos, and I think it just goes so well together. And I think we work so well together in the common goal that we both have. We want to make our town, Poundbury, as sustainable as possible. And if you've got the kids, doing all that work, perhaps Prince Charles might give some of them a job or two. You never know further down the line. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us and for them.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about your head teacher, Catherine Smith. Now, when I did speak with her, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that maybe people don't know about. For instance, when I took a look at the kids' kitchen, and Catherine described the process that she had to go through from these, state developed plans of what a school is going to have, which does not include a kids' kitchen, to her finding ways to put that in there. So I'm just wondering if you have that sort of thing that goes on even with when you want to put in a chicken coop, or if you want to put in, the learning pond. Is it a lot of red tape to get the bureaucracy on board?
Of course, if it's seen from afar, we've obviously got to speak to the duchy about what we can have and what we can't have, but they've always been very supportive in everything that we've wanted to put forward. The chickens, they were all for it, and they're willing to help in any way they could. Same for the nature area as well. That they gave some tips. I think they even gave some trees as well. And when Prince Charles became 70, he gave some trees to our orchard, which is very kind of him. And there isn't much red tape. The Duchy have been very forthcoming with, every time we've gone to see them with ideas, and if they've always had an input, and if they don't like something, they'll say, but then they'll always find a way to make sure that we can accommodate anything that we would like. So we just work in tandem, and try and be as honest. We're as honest with them and as they are with us, and I think that's why we got such a great relationship with them.
Good, good. Let's talk a little bit about kids working in kitchens, because I think that the idea of it is actually more frightening than it is in reality. Like, you think of kids cutting veg with big knives and such like that. How do you feel about the learning process of cutting and cooking and that sort of thing? Aside from it is science, math, and all of that, even a bit of chemistry involved if you're baking.
Yeah, I'm really passionate. I grew up want to be a chef, funny enough. So I'm really passionate about children cooking and children chopping, and whenever I'm in the technology kitchen, I'm always got children cutting things with knives, and obviously you got strict risk assessments and things, but I think it's really important that children know how to cut and how they're great. And it's amazing how many children just don't know these simple skills, and it's not about it's not about the adults doing all the cooking and then passing like a bowl around and everybody having a little stir sort of thing. You need to get the children into these kitchens, cutting, grating, chopping, using the cooker, learning how to cook, from A to B, and particularly, if they've grown that and they've harvested it, I think it's really important, that's the only way they're going to learn those skills and how to cook that dish for later life. Because we've got all these children that are going to teenagers and into adulthood that actually don't know how to cook. So if we can teach them at a young age, then I'm all for it.
Well, I will give you a little tip. I was able to tour Alice Waters' edible schoolyard in Berkeley. And the students there use her recipes for their harvest soup and their kelp pesto. So just isn't it, it's, something to reach out and look online, because it's available to you. Also, one thing that they had at the edible schoolyard, and I know that the Prince of Wales is passionate about this, but they had to really be careful about how they did it with the parents, is they actually have beehives there. Mm. Have you got that at Poundbury? Have you thought about it, or is it something that they haven't had any problems with it, and but obviously they had to run it by everybody?
Yeah, it's something that I've looked into. We got strong connections with Tom Embury, Bracer Butchers on Poundbury, and he's now governor at the school. And we've looked into it, possibly having a beehive on our roof, so it's above the airwaves sort of thing. I think we've still got a long way to go, because we have to go through the residents, and I don't think that the residents are a bit, unsure. And obviously, the Duchy are all, they're very supportive. But again, we've got to go through health and safety, and there's a bit of red tape there that needs to be looked at. So we're looking into it, but we're still a bit way away from getting them.
Well, if you want me to put you in touch with the administrator at Edible Schoolyard, who is able to navigate all of that, might be helpful. She might have some shortcuts. So I think what's lovely about this, and then I'm going to give you the last word, is that, look, you are from all that I've seen, your school and your passion and your students are probably leading the charge in eco schools, and you will probably get to the carbon-free school prior to 2030 based on the rate you're going. But the lovely thing is this idea of people being able to connect with one another. So the school that does have the beehives, letting you know best practices and how to do it, so that the residents, Berkeley is a very dense community with lots of residents around it too. So things to think about. And I'm going to give you the last word on anything you want to say about school children, your passion, sustainability, or even what your next project is going to be.
I think it's, I think, again, it's really important to get children at a young age. And I think I've seen that, my door's always open to children, and the amount of letters I get through parents and through children that have now gone on to other things. We've got children like Isla Lester, she's doing amazing. She's 11 years old. She's doing amazing things with kids radio in Australia, doing her own litter picks. And we're seeing, we're beginning to see that within our school of those children that have now left and moved on, and they're still carrying on their environmental journey, which is, what it's all about, and fantastic to see. So
you must feel like a proud papa.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Okay, and what's your next project? What do you think you're going to tackle in the next term?
Wow. I think we would like to try and do more on the food front. So at the moment we do one vegetarian meal a week. We'd love to be able to do, 3 maybe a week, sort of cut down on the meat sort of thing. So that's one idea. And also in the community, we would love to do a community fridge, have a community fridge on Poundbury where people can put their food that they, that they don't want, and then other people can then use that food, whether from other organisations or in the community that need it, rather than it going to waste, because so much food is being wasted at the moment that that seems to be like a good project to be involved with.
Yeah, I think that the city of Milan won one of the Earthshot prizes with a program similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting how you're incorporating having a veg meal. And are you doing it Indian style, or how are you using plant-based protein? What are you doing with that one?
I think we use veg. I think what a great opportunity to be able to perhaps even use some of the veg that we grow in our gardens to, supplement some of the food within our lunchtime meals, and then link that then with the curriculum of, teaching the children, the importance of, their fruit and veg. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah. Sounds good. Now, do you guys produce more produce than you can use at the school? And do you, what do you do with it then?
Yeah, we do. So we sell it. We sell it to parents for donation. And then that money then goes back into our school gardens or into our eco projects. Some people are even more creative. I think maybe next year or maybe the year after, I'd love to do a school farmers market, using the produce that we grow and making jams and chutneys and cordials, and actually, things that all at home, and teach children like another skill, baking, bread baking or cakes. I think that's another good skill to learn.
Yeah.
So that would be a dream to be able to do something like that.
Well, I hope that your dreams all come true, because it sounds like we all benefit when they do. Thank you, Ed, so much for your time. I'm going to stop the recording now. Hang on.